All right. Well, that we can't have enough of that, but we're moving on to something else. The elections are over, and guys, this is the 9th Assembly. So we're going to be looking at the 9th National Assembly. A lot of the people didn't come back. Some came back, but the dynamics in the party, in the House, has changed significantly, and now there is a tussle for the principal office of the National Assembly in the 9th Assembly. So I have two guests here to help me unpack this topic and do justice to it. With me here is Ahmed Babiaka. He's a social commentator. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Join us. Yeah, and of course, another social commentator here with us, Boladele Adikoya.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, guys. So you guys are looking at the unfolding drama in the National Assembly of who gets to be the principal officers for the Speaker. A lot of things are unpacking. People are talking about zoning. But what do you think will be different between the 9th and the 8th National Assembly, in your opinion? Let me start with you, Mike.
Well, I think going by the tradition or our brand of democracy, a friend of mine will always we say that Nigeria is a third world democracy, sort of, because we are coming from a situation whereby we've not set a precedence on how things should actually move normally or how things should actually exist normally. So ordinarily, in advanced democracies where we copy from, things are already set when you have a majority in the House or in the Senate or whatever level of parliament that we're talking about, that we're referring to now. So in the 9th Assembly, and if we want to compare what happened from the experience of the 7th and the 9th Assembly, we have a situation whereby the minority actually dictated what transpired, or the leadership dictated who becomes the leadership of the 7th Assembly. I'm talking about Tambuwa's case now. The emergence of Tambuwa and Ihedioha as Speaker and Deputy Speaker was majorly influenced by the minority party, the ACN then. So,
and in the 8th Assembly,
yes,
let's not forget that the Deputy Senate President went to the PDP.
Yes. We have a bicameral legislature in Nigeria. So I'm actually referring to the Parliament, the House of Representatives now, before the Senate now. Yes. So in the House of Representatives, we have a payback time, of what transpired in the 7th Assembly. APC came in as a majority, but a slim majority now. So the PDP, both in the Senate and the House of Representatives, paid back the APC. ACN was a major part of APC, and it was more or less the major minority in 2011. That is in the 7th Assembly. So what we are experiencing right now is just a follow-up or a kind of progression from what we experienced from the 7th Assembly. And I don't think anything is going to be different if the ruling party, which has a majority, does not do things drastically or do something drastic to address the situation of the division in the party right now. Yes.
Ahmed talked about a payback time. Oladele, I want you to come in here. What will be your own estimation? Do you think there is going to be, is there sort of like a payback time where there'll be the jostling now? What is your real estimation of it? Who do you see emerge, and how will that process play out?
Okay, well, let me start by saying that ever since the beginning of the Fourth Republic, from 1999 to date, no executive or president has successfully been able to influence whoever becomes the Senate President or the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Either in the days of the Nnamani or the Nahaba and the likes of them, Obasanjo tried, didn't succeed. Same also Yar'Adua also tried. And Goodluck Jonathan also tried, like he said, the issue of the Tambuwa, and he failed as well. And Buhari tried during his first administration as well, he failed. And I think the tradition will also remain. The tradition is that as far as the principle of separation of power is concerned, it is not about which party has a majority in the House now. It's about the House members, either the representative or the Senate now, deciding who they feel should govern them. You should know that when it comes to that us trading for their own, for their own inner election now, it is not about the party. It's about who they trust. It's about who they feel can has that charisma that can protect the integrity of the Harlow chamber, and also someone that they feel can benefit them, because of course it's based on interest, can benefit them as a caucus within the other Senate or the House of Representatives. So to a large extent, now APC is supporting someone like Femi Gbajabiamila, who is a tested and trusted lawmaker and federal lawmaker. However, it now determines on do the members of the caucus in the House, do they feel comfortable with him having him as a speaker? That's another ballgame entirely. And then it depends, do they feel he will represent the interests of the House of Representatives? That's another problem. Because if you look at someone like Femi Gbajabiamila now, the narrative out there is that it's being sponsored by a power from the Southwest. Now, they will not want, I do not think members of the House of Representatives, either the new ones or the old one, we want to have a house that will be under the dictators and individual. Same also as well for the Senate as well. They will also feel that, okay, Lawan is also a good man coming from the north, but what is the back end game? So to them as well, they will prefer someone they feel can be a whole that belongs to them and does not belong to a third force or a fourth force or a fifth force.
So you feel that what will play out here, knowing somebody that they can trust will be more important than where the party they are from?
Yes, to a large extent.
I mean, I want to dial that to you.
Yes.
Do you think that their friendship and trust amongst themselves should be deeper than their allegiance to the parties?
Well, if you talk about friendship, he mentioned the issue of competence. I believe for all the members, the House of Reps and the senators that have put themselves forward or that have been sponsored to vie for the leadership position of the stratas of the National Assembly, the issue of competence should not even come in place because they are all competent by standard of by the experience and by their performance being returning members of the National Assembly. But if you want to be specific now about who allegiance should be with, that is why we have a majority. That is why every party works to have more members to be able to determine what happens. We're all aware of the acrimony between the National Assembly, especially the Senate, and the executive in the 8th Assembly. A lot of things were blamed by the executive on the National Assembly. A lot of their change agenda were not attainable because of the kind of opposition they had despite being in the same party. So there's nothing wrong for a political party to project someone in as much as they can persuade their members in the majority.
You know, a lot of the interference, even the national chairman of APC has actually given a directive to the members of the House that under no circumstances should anybody emerge a leader who is not a member of the party. And the argument has been that it is not in his purview, he is not on his own table to decide who gets to govern who.
Yes.
So what would you say to the national chairman? Is it stepping beyond his boundaries?
I think Comrade Adams Oshiomhole is actually overreaching his duty and his function as a chairman of the party. Fine, he has that position to relay the directive or the decision of the party to members, but he should not start making it look like a threat. I believe to a large extent, first and foremost, the process of electing has always been secret ballot. So there is no way you even know who is voting for who or not. And secondly, also, which is out of most of the power play within the Senate and the House of Representatives now is that if the Speaker, who is in fourth in line of succession, and the Senate President, who is third in line of succession, are believed to be being sponsored by someone from the Southwest. And that same individual or that same group also is also one of the groups that the Vice President, who is second in line of succession, belongs to. It will be a political incorrectness for some individuals now within the corridors of power, to allow such group or such individual to control the second, the third, and the fourth line of succession. So to them, to a large extent, it is not even about everybody's competent. It's not about competency now. It's about the dynamics of power. It's about the politics now. So will you sit down and allow, when there are other options, will you sit down and allow an individual, a certain group, to control the second, third, and fourth line of succession in this country? Or you prefer to open that game up and give it to other competent individuals who you feel can protect the interest of your chamber? That is what the senators and the lawmakers will do.
Interesting perspective. And some of these things are alleged, you know, but we cannot be for sure about them. But this other one is, at what point do we stop politics and start governance? You know, because somehow governance is meant to be beyond party lines, beyond tribal. So if this person is competent, whether he's from here, he's from there, can this person stay on this? How is governance? When are we going to ever stop politicking and start governing? Do you think that's going to be possible at all with this 9th National Assembly? Well,
it's going to be a very difficult situation or difficult argument to extricate politics from governance. So, you see, the issue of the 9th Assembly and the powers or the forces or the sponsors of which candidate or who becomes the leader of any of the level of the National Assembly, I think who sponsors who does not come in place. Should not even be considered as anything, because if you are in the National Assembly, you are there on the platform of a party, of a particular political party. Now, it's been said that some powers or power brokers are sponsoring some individuals to take over the reins of the National Assembly. How did these power brokers, even at the first instance, get the majority? They participated in election. Their opponent also participated, so they got the majority. They should have a say in who represents them. All the returning members of the Senate that are of the APC are capable of becoming the Senate President or Deputy Senate President. So, the returning members of the House of Reps too are all capable to become Speaker or Deputy Speaker. But
do you see a sense where they can allow themselves to share? You know, in the 8th Assembly, there was a lot of compromise that was about inclusion. So right now, there is almost no representation in terms of the principal office, particularly from the South-South or South-East. And so right now, in terms of the zoning and the principal office, can there be a sense of compromise? It was almost the same thing in the 8th Assembly. That was why the Deputy Senate President was, okay, though a different party, they were trying to get sort of like a sense of inclusion from the people of the South-East. Do you see a sharing in the 9th Assembly?
I think one thing that is very important is this. Even what you need to be a majority in the Senate or the House of Reps, especially in the Senate, is to have 54 members plus 1.
Okay.
In the House of Reps, is to have 174 plus 1. Just half plus 1. So that makes you majority. In any climb, you can decide to say, okay, I'm having the whole Senate. You have a right to that. But if you come down to the politics of it, the ruling party that is sponsoring people that has the majority should be able to persuade each and every member of the House. Like you mentioned, it's going to be a secret ballot. No one is going to know who voted for who. So there is need to build that trust among the people. If Ndume is saying he's contesting today, don't be surprised among the ruling party, the senators in the ruling party, he has supporters. And the PDP, just like I said, can use the same measure that the APC used for them a major chunk of APC used for them in the 7th Assembly to also disorganize the leadership structure of the Assembly.
Boladile, I would like you to also speak to that. Do you see a sense of sharing before we go on break? 1 minute and then we're going on break.
Okay, I think, so when it comes to the sense of sharing, it depends on if you have the majority. He said he's talking about majority now in the Senate. I do not really see that where that majority is coming from. PDP, as the last count, has 46 senators, and APC has over 50 something. And if Ali Ndume, Goje are coming from the APC, that means a particular candidate cannot even boast of having 40 senators that will vote for him. So how does he want to become?
That's where persuasion from the party comes.
So that, no, and a friend of Adams said it is a winner take all. So if it's a winner take all, definitely they are talking about not just the Senate President, they're talking about the Deputy Senate President, they're talking about the leadership of the majority leader of the House, and also the chairman of the committee.
You know, the challenge again is that though Lawan is actually not from the Southwest,
it's from the Northeast.
He's from the Northeast. They still complain that he's being sponsored by somebody from the Southwest. So there's an issue.
There's an issue.
So it's almost not. So, you know, these things are complex. But guys, I think it's been an exciting conversation having you, Ahmed and Boladile. And I think hopefully along the line, as we follow the unfolding events from the 8th and 9th Assembly, we'll probably have you guys back again to do justice to this. But it's been fun talking to them. And our issues, like I said, are not always very easy. Very complicated country. But we're going on a short break now, and then we're going to the third and last segment of the program. Stay with us.